Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Heat. Welcome, Derry Bennett, Alio, Q Bennett. How's it going, everybody? Welcome. How's your Tuesday? Let's going. Today we have a lot of stuff to go through. I'm sitting outside in the cold, but it's not too cold. It's pretty chilly here. I mean, chilly by my perspective, or by my account, I guess. It's about 40-something degrees, more or less. And funny enough, even this is historically pretty warm for this area anyways. Alright, folks. And we have quite a few things to go through. So before we get started, again, like the stream, support the channel on YouTube. Join the Discord. I've been making this announcement for a while now, but join the Discord. We'll be having a movie night last Saturday of every month. We will be doing movie nights, so make sure if you want to participate, join the Discord. You can also keep up with the channel this way. So that is that is a way. That is a way to keep up with the channel. One more thing, yes, the merch store. That's right, there is such a thing as a merch store. So if you want to treat yourself, that is a thing. That is a thing. Stream Elements does give you the option of making a custom merch store. So I have some I have some stuff myself, and it's been pretty cool. I have a mug, sticker, and a hoodie. Yeah, I have the mug actually over here. I just don't have like the camera. I guess the workspace. But I have a mug with a Yoshi inside it. Right over here, and I've used the mug itself. It's actually pretty nice. That's actually one of my favorite items is the mug. The t-shirt, and I do have the packable rain jacket. I do have the packable rain jacket. That's always in the Jeep. I've used it quite a bit, so yeah. There's some cool stuff in there. I also have the bucket hat, by the way. I also have the bucket hat. I actually like that thing. But yeah, if you want to check that out, it's exclamation merch, or there is a link to it on the actual website. Here, let me show you guys. There is actually a link to it on the website. When you click on the shop button, that takes you to all that awesome stuff. Look at that. I wonder if the winter theme is messing with the color scheme, because I can't see the color scheme unless it's just this. Extensions, dark reader. What if I turn this off? No, I think it's just the winter store. There's a sale going on. I think if you are a subscriber, then yes. If you are a subscriber, then it automatically gives you a discount. Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. It's just the theme of... I guess it was just really slow. That's how it's supposed to look like. There you go. But if you are a subscriber, you get a small discount. Because I'm the store owner, I have and I'm the channel owner, I automatically by default have a tier 3 sub discount. So yeah, it gives you different discounts based on like your subscription. So like if you have a tier 1 sub, it's like a tiny discount. If you have a tier 2, it's a bigger discount. And if you have a tier 3, you get an even bigger discount. I don't know like the breakdown of all of that. I just know that like Stream Elements automatically takes that into consideration and basically adds it. This is what I need. I need the zip up hoodie, but for some reason, I don't understand why it's... You should model that hat sometime for us. What, the bucket hat? I like the bucket hat. All right, we got a lot of stuff to go through, so let's get this started.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is kind of weird. So, during an interview with New York City network Pix 11, he was asked how he would describe the year in one word. Now, I got no problem with being weird. You know, being different, being unique, that's a good thing in my mind. But there is that kind of weird, and then there is this kind of weird.
Mr. Mayor, we've come to the end of what was a very eventful 2023, right? So when you look at the totality of the year, if you had to describe it, and it's tough to do, in one word, what would that word be, and tell me why?
New York. This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open.
I love my hoodie. No zipper, gets plenty of miles plus. Adverts the stream. True. I'm sorry. Did he just say like you can just experience literally like anything from like 9/11 to like what? What are you saying, dude? Can we rewind that for a second?
Crashing into our trade center. This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open. This is a very, very complicated city, and that's why it's the greatest city on the globe.
What? What a bizarre answer to that question.
Yeah.
Now, look, I got to be honest. A question like that, I just find kind of stupid. You have the mayor in front of you. That's whatever. I'm sure there are other questions that were tougher. That's just a weird question. I don't think I would perform well in that question. Asked on the spot. Describe the year in one word. Complicated is maybe my answer. Depressing is a better answer. As the mayor, you can't really say it's been depressing. So his answer is New York, which is 2 words, but putting that aside, that wasn't the weirdest part about that answer. It's planes crashing into World Trade Center, or you may be starting a business. It's anything can happen in New York City. It's just so very bizarre. Now, look, Eric Adams being weird like this isn't the biggest issue with Eric Adams. I got just a couple of quick things to go through here, and then there's a video that you should all watch if you care more to learn about Eric Adams that I'll send you to at the end of this. But recently, and look, I don't cover New York City politics closely because I don't live in New York City. I don't care. But there is some things worth going over here considering the city is a major world city. So the FBI has recently seized Eric Adams' phones as campaign investigation intensifies. That was mid-November, I believe, November 10th. Then a few days later, more came out. What we know about the criminal investigation into Eric Adams' campaign. Federal authorities are examining whether the mayor's 2021 campaign accepted illegal donations, including from the Turkish government. So there's a weird connection between this real estate company and Turkey, and there's not a whole lot else that we really know, at least from what I'm reading. Apart from that, I'm sure more is going to come out. But Eric Adams being corrupt would not be all that surprising. But this isn't, again, even that isn't the worst part of his legacy so far. So he's recently axed more money from education, taking away $547 million from the education department, with more on the way. And that includes many of the cuts are expected to take effect immediately. They will touch a wide range of programs and positions that directly affect students, from the city's massive free preschool program to community schools that support families with out-of-school needs to the popular pandemic-era Summer Rising program. So one of the biggest cuts that he has made, or the biggest cut he has made, has been to education. And he's also recently vetoed 4 bills that were aimed to increase aid to the homeless.
Jesus. Mouse Hunter, how's it going? I can just answer in one motion. Face palm, true. Eric needs some Valium. No, he needs to be out of office. That's why people flock to New York. The imminent threat of danger. True.
So he's also been a massive disaster when it comes to both homelessness as well as cost of housing. And in addition to that, he's had time to do this, invest more into the NYPD in terms of plainclothes units and facial recognition technology, which of course is a civil rights, or can be a civil rights issue. So there's more on that here. I was gonna, read some of this, but ultimately this is a situation where you have a mayor who comes from the NYPD. Who would have thought? Investing more into draconian policies to impact the citizens of the city. And I imagine because of all of that, you now have the lowest approval rating for any New York City mayor since 96 at 28%. Y'all had issues with Bill de Blasio? Eric Adams seems to be 1,000 times worse. And this is the video I want to leave you all with. So, Olay, formerly of the Leftist Mafia podcast, still a friend of the show, put out a couple months ago her video on Eric Adams, the worst mayor in America. Does almost a 2-hour breakdown. And this is before the recent investigation, by the way. So almost a 2-hour breakdown. into how terrible Eric Adams is, go check that out. I will link to that below the video as well as on this page as well. Eric Adams, a complete disaster for a variety of reasons, and also just incredibly weird.
Yeah, that was oof. Yeah, there's no explaining that one away. Like, where did you even like get that answer from? Like, how did that thought, like, I want to know how that thought process came about. Like, oh yeah, from New York, where you can experience like 9/11 to like whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand where this thought process came. Like, how that thought entered his head, and then like he decided to say that thought. This makes no sense. All right, shifting gears really quickly, folks.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump, of course, was doing his speech in New Hampshire where he said that immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, echoing, of course, Adolf Hitler, which has been pretty much the biggest criticism of this line, that Donald Trump is now just openly parroting Nazi talking points and white ethno-nationalist talking points. And Lindsey Graham, the day after this happened, went on TV, of course. He's asked a question. You know, what about Trump's rhetoric? And Lindsey Graham...
Yeah, like, so another, like, these people don't care. Like, this is a good thing. Like, Trump acting in this manner is okay for them. I don't understand, like, why people would be so surprised that someone like Lindsey Graham, or quite frankly, any Republican would be admonishing him at this point. He controls the base. That's it. He controls the party. The Republican Party is just the party of Trump. And they're okay with this one way or the other. They're okay with it because they openly believe this as well, or they are okay with it by default because they're not doing anything about it. Does that make sense?
Not only said he had no problem with it, but he said Trump is right. And I'll read you exactly what Graham said in just...
Yeah, so, I mean, this is not surprising at all. So, again, what is the difference between, like, the Republican Party and the MAGA movement? Like, explain to me, what is the difference, and why do we even bother... why do we even bother, attempting to differentiate or make any distinction? It makes zero sense.
The moment, but think about it. The leading candidate for the Republican presidential primary, according to the polls, the leading candidate in the 2024 election, is using the same language as Hitler.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, hey, isn't that kind of, like, a little bit sort of maybe alarming? Just a little bit? Does that not, like, alarm anybody? Just a tiny bit? Jesse James, how's it going? Biden, what are you going to do to stop the flying cars from getting over Trump's border wall? Some like to pretend to be less radical, but they always fall in line. Right, like at the end of the day, like they will still vote for his agenda. I think the old Republican parties just slowly died out and are quit. Now we're stuck with what's left. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that this is just the Republican Party. Like, give me an example of who this is. Like, can you give me an example as to who this is representing? Like, in terms of, like, give me an example of the old Republican Party just dying out or quitting. Can we get an example? In the MAGA, technically, like the Republicans, the R's didn't gang up in support of Nixon. Suppose so. But like all these beliefs were all these underlying beliefs were still present. How did Nixon win exactly? How did Nixon win in the presidency? How does anybody win? With lies? No, I meant like the underlying belief system of the Republican Party isn't that new and hasn't really changed that much. Because you said like an example would be like, oh, like the Republicans didn't support Nixon only after it was like apparent that this dude did some really like bad stuff in terms of like the whole Watergate stuff. It was way too out in the open, because, guaranteed that if none of this came to light, he would have been fine. But my point is, like, these beliefs were already present, because the way Nixon won, at that point, the way Nixon won the presidency, was something called the Southern Strategy, which was deployed by people like Nixon. The thing that changed with Trump was that we're all in for Orange Jesus that never existed before. Maybe, but the only reason that happened is because Orange Jesus allowed a vehicle. Orange Jesus allowed a vehicle for these underlying beliefs. Orange Jesus made it possible for them to behave this way and not be punished, and not be politically punished, right? Because, like, before all of this, there would be political ramifications. Now, not so much. Now it's actually a good thing for Republicans to behave this way. The only thing that Trump did, was kind of like become that vehicle. That's it. This was already, all these people were already here before Trump. A lot of these, House of Representative people, senators that have been here for decades and decades and decades, were here before Trump,
It's white nationalist language, great replacement theory language. And Lindsey Graham is not only cool with it, but he admits that, hey, Trump is right. Here's how this exchange took place. This was with Meet the Press host Kristen Welker. Welker asks him, the Biden campaign has accused former President Trump of, quote, parroting Adolf Hitler. Are the president's comments representative of how you and other Republicans feel? Graham then said, 76% of the American people, not Donald Trump, believe the border's broken. They're worried about fentanyl coming over and killing their kids. Then Welker asked, but what about his language, Senator? Just that language, that poisoning the blood. And Graham, who was getting angry at this point, said, I'm worried about an outcome. He is right. He had the border secured, the lowest in 40 years in December of 2020. To the Biden administration, you're talking about Donald Trump's language as you sat on the sidelines and allowed the country to be invaded. 172 people on the terrorist watch list have come on your watch. We're caught. They didn't just like cross the border, get into the country, and now, oh my God, we got terrorists. They were caught, Lindsay. That's how you know the number, because those people were caught by the Biden administration. So you kind of left out that very important.
Yeah, but none of that matters. Like this whole rhetoric around this whole rhetoric around the border has nothing to do with securing the border or whatever. It's just xenophobia. That's it. Lindsey trying to give Trump money, he should be fired. Well, he should be voted out, but, you know. December of 2020 was the first year of COVID. No, I thought 19 was the first year.
Qualifier on that description. Welker continued to press, are you comfortable with this rhetoric? And Graham says, we're talking about language. I could care less what language people use as long as we get it right. If you think you're going to win the debate on illegal immigration by picking a line out of a Trump speech, most Americans understand the game has to change, that we're under threat, that we're going to get attacked, that our border has completely been obliterated.
Wow. Like actually just reading the words instead of listening to him speak, like just reading the words. It's delusional. It's delusional.
Jesus Christ, Lindsay, how do you get out of bed in the morning with those horrifying thoughts going through your head? That at any minute, this country is going to be attacked by a couple of people coming across the border with no real means to actually do anything? I mean, kind of seems like a horribly pathetic and terrified way to go through life, but you yourself are a scared individual. You're very fragile, you're very frail. So I get that you constantly live in fear. I also understand that you're a massive warmonger, the biggest one that we have in the Senate right now. So you'd love nothing more than to send American tanks across the border down into Mexico and just have them travel through South America, killing everybody they can, because that makes you happy. So you're trying to scaremonger all these people, like all these people Biden's coming across. They're apprehending them.
Yeah, besides, none of this matters because, and you could tell that, none of this really is about the border because, on paper, the Biden administration's immigration policy is very, very similar to the Trump administration's policy. On paper, not much has really changed. A couple of things here and there. But the way this administration is handling immigration is very, very similar. And yet these people are screeching about an open border. That's not a thing. These people are screeching about an open border. They're trying to fearmonger over a non-existent problem. To attempt to score political points, when in reality, on paper, the policies are almost the same, and so one can only draw conclusions that this isn't about the immigration policy. This isn't about the border. It's just xenophobia. That's it. Cosmic Seeking, welcome. Lindsey Graham hangs out with Trump. Consider the source. The source is Lindsey Graham, the Republican. He has a will of his own. This is just classic Republican rhetoric. This has been a thing even before Trump, to be honest. This fear mongering over the border, over immigration, has been like a staple, like Republican thing for a while. This is not new. Cosmic Seeking, welcome.
That's the difference. That's the thing you're failing to mention. Like, oh my God, look at all these drugs that were seized across the border. Isn't that terrible? No, they were seized, you idiots. Republicans want illegal immigration to be the top issue for 2024. But I'm asking you this.
It's always immigration with these people because it's about xenophobia. That's what it is. There's always a border crisis every election season for these people. You have to see the repercussions of the SCOTUS being in the pockets of the GOP since 2000. Well, I mean, we're already seeing the repercussions of a Republican-leaning Supreme Court, right?
Individually, personally, is illegal immigration your biggest concern? I mean, have you personally been impacted by illegal immigration? I mean, did you specifically lose your job? I mean, I want to know these things. I am genuinely asking this. Or are you more concerned about the fact that you can't afford your prescription medication? Are you concerned about the fact that you're struggling to be able to put food on your table? And by the way, immigrants are not to blame for those kinds of things. But Lindsey Graham, Donald Trump, the entire Republican Party wants you to think that they are. They're not. A lot of the problems in your life are due to the fact that Republicans have allowed corporations to do whatever the hell they want for however long they want, and that has resulted in you getting screwed over at the grocery store, at the gas pump, and at the pharmacy counter, and everywhere in between. That's Republican policy at work. So they want to distract you with this immigration talk so that you blame all your problems not on the Republicans, but on the people coming across the border.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's just about being xenophobic towards brown people. That's it. That's where that begins and ends, honestly. That's where it literally begins and ends. Clarence Thomas has been funded by GOP supporters. I mean, yeah, he's been effectively bribed by massive GOP donors. All judgments since 2000 should be revisited. Well, I think any dubious judgments absolutely should be revisited.
Because Republicans know that they have no winning policies for you. So like Lindsey Graham did there at the end of that statement I read, he's trying to scare the crap out of you into voting for a Republican.
But imagine this is your electoral strategy. Because again, this isn't new. By the way, this isn't new. Imagine your electoral strategy is fear-mongering about brown people, and then your base buys that and votes for you on that. Jesus Christ. That's pretty telling, isn't it? That your go-to electoral strategy is to fearmonger about brown people going over the border instead of actually proposing any type of policy. Now mind you, when it comes to campaigning on policy, the Democrats aren't doing it. The Democrats aren't doing it either. But the point being is the Republican Party is counting on this xenophobic message as an electoral strategy. That's wild. Dems are doing this, just replacing brown people with Trump. Yeah, like the Dems are basically the Dems are basically gambling on we're not Donald Trump, and so the Dems are gambling on we're not Trump, and hoping that that a conviction or convictions next year might be enough to suppress Republican turnout. That's the gamba that they're playing. That's the gamba that they're playing. Trump has been playing the dramatic music. Trump says we're going to hell when respects us. No one respects us. Electric cars are bad and will take your jobs.
Don't fall for it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, people have superseded
before communism.
Whoa. People have superseded that rationality with bigotry.
Your group found that some of the
now that we know, or now that we've established the fact that, like, this dude is going around essentially like Nazi posting. Like, dude's going around campaigning on things like immigrants are poisoning the blood of our soil or whatever. The blood of our country, sorry. Blood and soil rhetoric. I'm just thinking like two things at the same time. We have the Dems completely asleep at the wheel, in my opinion. And this isn't like just me manufacturing things out of thin air. The reality is, at this point in time, and again, all of this could potentially change in the future, but the problem being is that you're gambling. You're gambling, and that it's a dangerous game that these Dems are playing.
Your group found that some of the president's support is waning among some pretty key constituencies that he had back in 2020. What can you tell us about that? What are you seeing in the numbers?
Look, that's actually the most important piece. And sometimes people say, "Are the polls too early?" But when your approval with your base is lower than your opponent, you need a new start. You need to look fresh. And
yeah. So what he's saying is exactly what pretty much everyone has kind of coalesced around the idea that, like, you need people to get out there and vote for you, okay? And that's going to require you getting out there and giving people things to vote for. If your approval rating, especially with your own base, the people that are going to go out and vote for you, is low, then like that's a tremendous problem, because like that factor wasn't there in the 2020 election. That variable was not there in the 2020 election.
Frank God, David Lauder in the LA Times finally pointed out every incumbent, every leader in the world has low approval. They're losing elections. What's happening with Biden is not new.
Right.
Okay? But we are coming out of a period with three exceptional factors. I've talked about them in the Financial Times article that I wrote. One is inflation. Inflation concentrates the mind. It's been inflation on essentials, getting energy, fuel prices, food, real basics.
Yeah.
Second has been the fact that the political class has done nothing about the profiteering. And then third is the migration that's come through as a result of wars and climate change.
Yeah, and an extension of that is Biden's handling of the Israel-Gaza situation has really, at this point in time, has not done him any favors. Especially with the demographic of people that decided to show up in 2020. That may not be the case this time around. For months, and again, for months, can you imagine? The president and the first lady expressed frustration at Democrats' disappointing numbers, but the night before Thanksgiving proved to be a turning point in which Biden complained to his team that his numbers were unacceptably low. That night numbers were unacceptably low. So that sounds like a Biden problem. Maybe Biden should be doing things to raise those numbers, right? And give people reasons to get out there and vote for him.
So the immigration issue is a real thing. The question I have, though, is inflation is cooling. I mean, if you look at gas prices, they're going down. They're around $3 a gallon in the Washington, D.C. area, Maryland, and Virginia. I suspect it's fluctuates depending on where you are around the country, but generally coming down. People aren't feeling that enough just yet.
It's a bubble.
Yeah.
It's a bubble. People, look, what I have discovered in doing my polling in Europe, in the UK, and here, is what matters is how many months people have been struggling to deal with inflation. And each month they get madder and madder about it, as long as their wages are trailing prices. And
so they're grumpy right now.
There's still look, get out of the bubble. They are it's 3% higher than it was when Biden came in. In the last 6 months, there has been a decline in disposable income. So the context is you have to start there. Inflation is like 30 points higher than the next problem. And you can't, what the president currently doing is his tweets always start with, we're making progress, and then he mentions prices. If you look at ads aimed at black voters, it's mainly trying to convince them they're doing a good job. But that's not where they are. They are losing ground every month and anger about it. But then you have to stop. You have to say, what's the main problem? How do you deal with the first problem, which is inflation and the cost of living?
Stan, the Washington Post has some new reporting out today about a meeting President Biden held with his staff about his poll numbers.
Yeah, so the problem being here is that, this is ultimately like a capitalism problem, right? And Biden has very adamantly said that he is a capitalist. So yeah, I don't see him making drastic moves to be like, oh, you know what? A lot of these inflation numbers are being caused by corporate greed. Like he'll say things, to kind of pay lip service. But at the end of the day, you can't really go against, the donors, right?
And it says in part, after pardoning a pair of turkeys, an annual White House tradition,
Right.
Biden delivered some stern words for the small group assembled. His poll numbers were unacceptably low. He wanted to know what his team in his campaign were doing about it. What are they doing about it? What should they be doing about it?
Okay. Well, what the president currently is doing is still talking about progress And you can't talk about progress when 3/4 of the country think we're on the wrong track. You have to stop on the notion that we're making progress. You have to get where people are. And where they are is on the rising prices. They need to stop with their own voters and say, we get it. If inflation is the biggest problem, we get it. Yeah. We know what you've been through. We're in touch with that. Here's what we're dealing with it. We are going to do a child tax credit. We're going to cut drug prices. We're going to lower health care costs. And we're going to go after the big companies that are getting out, aren't paying any tax. We're going to go after profiteering. We're going to shift power from work to workers and focus again on the needs of working people.
Yeah. Well, again, you kind of have a little bit of lip service now and then being paid, but meaningfully, no. Not a lot of that's being addressed. Vice President Harris to step up abortion rights push as part of the new Biden effort. Vice President Harris plans to embark on a nationwide tour in January to push back on state abortion restrictions, signaling President Biden's team intend to highlight the issue more aggressively as he makes his case for second term. Harris's tour begin, but what is she going to do about it? Is she going to back individual state measures that are currently on ballots? Is she going to get Biden to support a national codification to Roe v. Wade? If so, why didn't that happen when they had the chance? Based on voting rights and the border. Oh, based on voting rights and the border? Nothing. Welcome, Michael Asler. She's going to show up and get her picture taken. Vice President Harris plans to embark on a nationwide tour. Harris's tour begins in the swing state of Wisconsin on January 22nd, anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court that established a constitutional right to the abortion. The Vice President's effort is aimed at highlighting the stories of women affected by the abortion bans. Oh, hold on, folks. Here we are. The recent case of Kate Cox, a Texan, was forced to leave her state to get an abortion, attracted nationwide attention. Cox had sought to terminate her pregnancy after learning that the fetus had a fatal condition. Carrying the pregnancy to term could jeopardize her fertility. There's also plans to call on Congress to codify the abortion access, tout the Biden administration's efforts to protect reproductive rights, and urge voters to speak out against abortion restrictions. In a statement Tuesday, the vice president condemned the politicians and activists behind the abortion restriction as extremists, pushing radical policies that harm Americans. I will continue to fight for our fundamental freedoms while bringing together those who thought throughout America who agree that every woman should have the right to make a decision about her own body, not the government. Again, why didn't she push for codifying this during the first initial election? And I'm pretty sure that Dems at one point here had the House. A new poll has President Biden... Oh, in Pennsylvania, a new poll has President Biden and former President Trump locked in a statistical tie. Even though nearly 2/3 of Pennsylvania voters say Biden does not deserve to be reelected, Muhlenberg College's Institute of Public Opinion released a poll on Tuesday of 421 registered voters. The poll has a margin of plus 6 percentage points. The poll found that 65% said Biden does not deserve re-election, while 28% say he does, and 7%. Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty consistent, right? We have seen this statistical tie for a long time now at this point. Roe v. Wade did not come until after the GOP took over the House. No, but didn't they have a moment where President Biden had the House of Representatives and they couldn't be bothered to bring it up? Yeah, so it's a statistical tie, which is the exact same results that we've been seeing for a while now. The RVW was in SCOTUS, but no ruling had been made. No, I'm talking about the House, who has the ability to codify Roe versus Wade. Pretty sure the Dems had had the House at one point during the Biden presidency, and there was no real effort there. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the Dems had control of the House for a brief moment during the Biden presidency. At the beginning of the Biden presidency, I'm pretty sure that the Dems had I'm pretty sure the Dems had control of the House. There was no need to codify SCOTUS until SCOTUS ruled. That happened after the GOP got the House. No, it's the opposite. They were supposed to codify this before the Supreme Court had the chance to undo it. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. Gerrymandered maps? No, that's irrelevant. Like, did they or did they not have control of the House during the beginning of the Biden term? Breaking this just in, Colorado Supreme Court has removed Trump from the primary ballot. Wow. Yeah, can we get a link? Is Trump off the ballot in Colorado for now? It was 50-50 with Harris as a tiebreaker. No, that was the Senate. That was the Senate. That was the Senate. I'm talking about the House. I'm pretty sure Pelosi was still the House Speaker at that time. Was she not? Yeah, the Democrats took the House in 2019. Oh, they had half a century to codify Roe and couldn't even be bothered to try. Yeah, that's true too. Wasn't there an opportunity? Well, several opportunities, with particularly with the particularly with the Obama administration. They couldn't be bothered with that too. I think Obama said something to the effect of like, "Oh, well, that's not the priority right now." Anyways, the point being is that they were supposed to they were supposed to oh man, I just lost my train of thought. That is a huge ruling, the correct one. Yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Oh yeah, okay, sorry. Put the train on the tracks. Sorry, I'm extremely tired today, folks. So, the point being is that the Dems were supposed to codify this or attempt or fight to codify Roe v. Wade before the Supreme Court had a chance before the Supreme Court had a chance to overturn it. You know what they did? Codifying abortion needed 60% majority to pass. I mean, they could have still tried. Didn't they have super majorities? I'm pretty sure they had a super majority during the Obama administration. Am I correct? I forget. Anyways, the point being is that it's not. It was supposed to be done before they got to do that. No. My excuse is maybe too many gummies this morning. What's yours? Nothing. I'm just literally tired. There's no excuse. During Obama. Okay, gotcha. During Obama. Okay, so I'm not like dreaming stuff. I'm not dreaming stuff up. Everyone thought it was default law that they had for 50 years and the GOP challenged it. Yeah. No. It wasn't default law. There was no code. It was never codified. It was just an interpretation of so I forget how they made this whole ruling, and why it was foolish and naive to think that like a Supreme Court would always would always rule one way or the other when they could have just codified it. Like just to be clear, the Supreme Court does not make law. The Supreme Court does not make laws. Congress does that. The supermajority was wasted cleaning up the economy after Bush. Yeah, but like, I mean, is it really like, sorry, that asking for like bodily autonomy was like too much of a bother at the time. Roe was case law and it had been supported and held for 50 years. Right, but it wasn't law. Does that make sense? It was never codified by the legislature, which is why people are angry that it should have been. It should have been. Many rulings are only held by case law. Okay, but the point being is that it didn't need to be left up to the Supreme Court when it could have been codified by the legislature. Does that make sense? Case law is good enough usually when SCOTUS has ruled on it before. Okay. I mean, we can go around this circle and circle, but the point being is that they should have codified it. Why depend on why be so naive? Why be so naive to think that a Republican administration could upend this at any given point? And they did, because they played the long game with the so-called case law that was good enough. Makes no sense. Besides, the Dems were too afraid of doing anything unilaterally. For fuck's sake, even Obamacare was like pulling someone's teeth through their rectum. Yeah, and even then, like, that was pretty poorly done. A Supreme Court of a state has not found this. Colorado has done her duty. All right. Pay attention, folks. Can other states use this as precedent? Maybe. Yeah, actually. Can they? I believe so. This is breaking news, folks. So we need to kind of address this. Colorado Supreme Court kicks Trump off the state's 2024 ballot for violating the U.S. Constitution. In a bombshell decision, Colorado Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that former President Trump's candidacy in the state is prohibited on constitutional grounds. That's pretty massive. That's pretty massive. The GOP got it reviewed by cheating a case from out of side field. Doesn't matter. That's the Dems' fault. They should have codified it when they had the chance. I like watching Trump lose. Me too. A majority of the court holds that President Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Because he is disqualified, it would be a wrongful act under the Election Code for Colorado Secretary of State to list him as a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. The first of its kind ruling stems from a lawsuit that focused a little-known provision of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Similar challenges in other states have been unsuccessful. The decision from Colorado's High Court reverses a lower court's ruling that said that Trump had engaged in insurrection by inciting the insurrection. Wait, like, yeah, you can't simultaneously say that, like, Trump engaged in insurrection by inciting a riot. That was not a riot at that point, right? By inciting said insurrection on January 6th, but that presidents are not subject to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment because they are not an officer of the United States. Whatever, dude. If you want to play semantics, that's fine. Anyways, the state Supreme Court agreed that Trump had engaged in insurrection, but rejected the lower court's finding that the president is not an officer of the country that elected him. Section 3 of the Civil War era 14th Amendment said no person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States, who had previously taken an oath as an officer of the United States to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Trump, who has called the efforts to keep him off the ballot nonsense and election interference, is likely to try to appeal Tuesday's Colorado's ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's not very reassuring, but hey. Courts have ruled against similar efforts to get Trump banned from the ballot in Arizona, Michigan. Courts have ruled against similar efforts to get Trump banned from the ballot in Arizona, Michigan, and Minnesota. The plaintiffs challenging Trump's eligibility in Michigan filed an appeal to the state high court on Monday. So could this have ramification with other states? Maybe. And if so, then yeah, it's a great thing. That's a great thing. Yeah, this little known provision, this effing article. You know, one little trick, okay? People who want to obey the Constitution hate this. I'm no expert, but I believe a huge amount of U.S. law is based on case law and is not codified. Many times, case law is enough to win a case in the U.S. courts. No, I don't think that's how this works. Remember, Trump said, "We love you. We're very special." Yes, I was streaming early that day. We saw part of it. We actually got to the point where things were starting to pop off. That's wild. Way back then. Way back when. I used to stream in the mornings, yes. So, if this is true, Cosmic is correct of this from a legal point of view, but Carlos is correct, Cosmic, about the Congress passing a law making case law irrelevant. Yeah, which is my argument. My argument exactly. Like, why would you be naive to think that like a Republican administration, or you know, a couple of Republican administrations wouldn't finally get to that point where it could just be easily overridden by 9 law wizards who have decided on ideological whims, on ideological bases, that they were just going to throw away this, you know, supposed precedent. That's my point. I will take that L. Anyways, yeah, so if this is true, I wonder if they can expand this and go based off that ruling, because then that might be a game changer. I mean, like from a objective standpoint, Trump really shouldn't be allowed to run. Trump really shouldn't be allowed to run. After all the stuff that he's done, it is quite easy to make the argument that he should not be allowed to run just based on like on the Constitution. But we shall see. Asterisk, this is when it comes to being a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. Now that a state has won, the other states can piggyback off the decision. Hopefully, if the SCOTUS from 10 states say no campaign or presidency for you, well, at least according to this, he can be kicked off the presidential primary ballot, which will force him to essentially run as an independent or does that mean that you are kicked off completely? That's a clarification I would like to know. In which case, yeah, I'm all for it. Kicked off means a write-in? Yeah, but like, I mean kicked off like, because it says presidential primary. Like primary. Or am I just like reading into it too much? I mean, it doesn't matter. It works for me. To be honest, it works for me. Because if it's true that, that he can't be on the primary ballot, it means that he can't run in any other capacity other than as an independent. And then after that, it's kind of like, yeah, after that, that changes the whole equation. But if it just bars him completely, that also works for me too. It doesn't matter. Given the reason of breaking the Constitution, he can't run for anything at all. I mean, theoretically, yeah, that's what I'm. That's what I'm getting at. Is that what they mean? Is that what they mean by this? Because in that, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It works. It works for me. It works for me because if he's only kicked off the primary but is somehow allowed to run in the general, like you'd have to run as an independent, and like, man, that's essentially torpedoing whatever chances he has at the moment. Unless it's overturned, it's not good news for Trump. Okay, I mean, it doesn't matter. It works for me. It works for me, and I hope that this decision gets I hope that this decision gets piggybacked into the other states. I guess like we'll have to see what the appeal says. Because if this stands, then if this stands and it's true that he can't, and if this stands and it's true that he's not going to be on the ballot in certain states, especially if those states happen to be enough swing states, then like, man, this changes the whole this changes the equation, right? With this SCOTUS and there being no felony as of yet, I doubt it holds up, but we'll see. One president was barred from appearing on the Colorado presidential election ballots by a Supreme Court ruling. This lawsuit argued that Trump is disqualified because of the insurrection. This is the first time the Republican nomination frontrunner has been disqualified for trying to block the election victory from Biden. The Colorado Supreme Court said a rule that President Trump cannot appear on the state's ballot for the 2024 election due to his incitement of the insurrection, but the state Supreme Court stated its ruling from taking effect until January 4th, subject to future appellate proceedings. The ruling is the first time a state court has agreed that Trump, who is the frontrunner of the Republican presidential nomination, should be barred from ballots in the state because a U.S. constitutional provision. Okay, so this is complete barring. Yeah, this works. This works for me. There should be a legal case against any state that refuses to take Trump off the election. I mean, they're trying to argue the case. This is the first victory. So, if this is true and they piggyback off this, then this changes the whole damn equation. This changes the whole equation. Will the Republican Party at that point have to now go with another candidate? Yeah, probably. With this SCOTUS and there being no felony, it'll hold up, but we shall see. Yeah, I suppose we shall see what happens in the appeals, and what these actual Supreme Court, like the federal Supreme Court, says. But if that's the case, then yes, we will follow up and we'll follow up on that because it will change the equation. It will definitely change the dynamics because now we would be looking like in that hypothetical we would be looking at a election where possibly Trump may be put out of the running. Save the trees, yes. Remember, Trump is upset? Well, maybe. I don't know. This is breaking news. There may be some big vacancies on the SCOTUS now. What do you mean? Sorry, folks. I didn't say thank you to the people dropping biddies. Thank you, Alio, for the 24 biddies and Heat for the 10 biddies. I appreciate that. What did I miss? Apparently, there was breaking news. The Colorado Supreme Court has ruled that Trump is going to be off the ballot. So as of right now, Trump, the ruling is that Trump, the ruling is that Trump will be off the ballot. As of right now. There are 2 judges who are embroiled in the bribery scandal. Yeah, but they're going to still be able to rule. If Clarence Thomas couldn't be bothered to recuse himself in like very obvious conflict of interest cases, like nah, I don't see. I think they'll rule on it if they have to. Whistle, thank you for the 20 biddies. I just want to hear you say biddies again. There you go. Biddies. I appreciate that. Trump falsely claims electric cars have to be recharged every 2 minutes. True. A very well known fact. That anything electric just automatically loses power immediately. I'm teasing. No, it was funny. We do need a soundboard. I had one. I had one. But yeah. Unfortunately, the tablet that I had the soundboard running on isn't too great, and it stopped losing. It stopped being able to communicate with the computer, the software that runs the soundboard. Like, I don't know. It was a whole thing. It was really convenient too, because it was like a little tablet that I had here, that was easy. A little tablet with the Stream Deck Elgato software. Biddy, 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 biddy. All right, let's talk about trees. Yeah, today's news: federal judge orders court naming orders documents name. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll get that. We'll get to that. Joe Biden, Brandon, decides to ban logging in U.S. old-growth forests in 2025. Joe Biden's administration on Tuesday today announced a new proposal aimed at banning logging in old-growth forests, a move meant to protect millions of trees that play a key role in fighting the climate crisis. The proposal comes from an executive order signed by the president on Earth Day in 2022 that directed the U.S. Forest Service and Land Management Bureau to conduct an inventory of old growth and mature forest groves, as well as to develop policies to protect them. Your voice is not deep enough to make it sound funny. Hold on. My voice is not deep enough. Give me a second. All right. So this is my normal voice. And I can go a pitch down if I wanted to. I also have this. And this. Oh, I actually like this one. This one says it's reverb. Reflection. Oh. I feel like I'm in a very tightly closed-in bathroom with absolutely nothing inside. Just empty walls. Hello. Hello there. There's a memeable robot from Buck Rogers' TV show that used to say "bitty bitty bitty bitty." I had a pitch down, but that's about as much as it goes. What does this do? Hold on. Hello. Sounds like a robot. See, I can be a robot too. There you go. Can't empty roll when you wish there really wasn't. Hello? Hello? This is the other robot voice. How do you do?
What about Buck?
No, I think the other one kind of works better. No, it's too artificial.
Someone isn't gonna like that.
Well, at least Twiggy's on my side.
That's kind of funny. Anyways. What is this? Oh. It sounds like a cave. Like I'm in a cave. What about this? Nah. Anyways, sorry. I'm just like messing around. All right, focus, people. Cave Redeem. Can you imagine? Cave Redeem gives you an entire article, done in like in like super echoey stuff. Now, if I could just find a way to like make that a button, that would be cool. But I have to like physically go and choose each option. That was fun. The grunge mic. Grunge mic is the distortion one. Distortion. The last person on Earth redeem. All right. Focus, folks. The proposal came from an executive order signed by the president on Earth Day that directed the U.S. Forest Service and Land Management Bureau to conduct inventory of old growth and mature forest groves, as well as develop policies that protect them. I think this will allow us to respond effectively and strategically to the biggest threats that face old growth, said the U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack told the Washington Post. At the end of the day, it will protect not just the forest, but also the culture and heritage connected to the forest. The U.S. Forest Service oversees 193 million acres of forest and grasslands, 144 million of which are forests. In its inventory conducted after Biden's executive order, the agency found that the vast majority of forests it oversees are about 80% either old growth or mature forests. It found that more than 32 million acres of old growth forests and 80 million acres of mature forests on federal land. Oh no! A turncoat. Consult with Hilda B. She has a dozen of audio redeems. True. That's a good point. After his arrest, clown that assisted the seditious conspiracy case that sent the Proud Boys Enrique Tarrio to prison for 22 years. Nice! We'll go over this Nice. The Land Management Bureau defines old growth as those with trees that are in the later stages of stand development, which typically means 120 years of growth, depending on species. The giant sequoias in California, for example, are old growth trees. Mature forests, meanwhile, have trees that are in the development stage and immediately before old growth. Advocates for years have been pushing the Biden administration to explicitly ban logging in old growth and mature forests. Trees that are in their old growth stage are able to store more carbon than younger trees, making them a natural solution to fighting the climate crisis. I mean, it's important, but also like you can't depend on just this alone, because at the end of the day, the point, and I'm sure this is it goes without saying, but just to reiterate, what really needs to happen is a complete decoupling of fossil fuels. He can become a proud old man. Yeah, so just to be clear, Enrique Tarrio is the one that got 22 years because of this guy. Or at least he was a key aspect of that case. In 2022, shortly before Biden announced his executive order, a group of more than 130 scientists wrote a letter to Biden advocating a ban on logging in old-growth forests. Older forests provide the most above-ground carbon storage potential on Earth, with mature forests and larger trees driving most accumulation of forest carbon in the critical next few decades. Left vulnerable to logging, though, they cannot fulfill these vital functions. The ban will come into effect in early of 2025, allowing time for the forest Service to finalize rules that would protect old growth forests from logging. Because it comes under an executive order, its existence depends on the outcome of the 2024 presidential election, making advocates worry about the protection's vulnerability to the country's political climate. But federal agencies have also been under pressure from the timber industry, which argues that the logging creates economic activity to help fight wildfires. The proposal focuses on mostly old-growth forests, leaving mature forests still vulnerable to logging, which is a middle ground between environmentalists and the timber industry. I'm sorry, but, like, excuse me if, like, I don't actually care about the timber industry, and their, you know, necessity to just raise every single forest down to the ground. So, like, excuse me if, like, I would like there to be less of middle ground between that and, like, you know, keeping a habitable planet, because, like, the argument that they're using, like, oh, you know, we're creating economic activity. Well, what good does that do if we're having, like, climate, you know, driven events that are causing way more damage than this economic activity that you supposedly generate? Hey, Hamlet, how's it going? Chris Wood, the president of Trout Unlimited and a former official with the U.S. Forest Service, told the Associated Press the policy is a step in the right direction. This is the first time the U.S. Forest has had its national policy will be to protect the old growth. Other advocates are emphasizing that this is just Biden's first step forward to fulfilling his executive order. Protecting our old growth trees from logging is an important first step to ensure these giants continue to store vast amounts of carbon, but other older forests need to be also need protection, said Randy Spivak, Public Lands Policy Director with the Center for Biological Diversity, said in a press release. To fulfill President Biden's executive order and address the magnitude of the climate crisis, the U.S. Forest also needs to protect our mature forests, which, if allowed to grow, will become the old growth of tomorrow. Yeah. If they just do proper forest thinning instead of clear cutting, there wouldn't be any issues. Yeah, but, like, they're not interested in any of that. It's like, how much profit can they extract? It's not, you know. I'm Delorax. I am Delorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees. For the trees have no tongues. It's not about what it is. It's about what it can become. Yes. There's a old proverb. Hold on. I have it on my phone. It just reminded me of this. This is kind of just for, like, politics in general. This is just politics in general. I kind of like this whole thing. We need more traditional ecological knowledge. Yes. Yes. And for that, we'll need indigenous people to kind of take the driver's seat on that. Executive orders can be undone so easily. I hope the GOP gets knocked out completely, so some of this can actually become law. I mean, you know, that is what we hope for, right? The same goes with the codification of Roe, right? So yeah, the proverb goes: the forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was made of wood, he was one of them. Lost Sue. Yes. That's right. Very relevant. I think so. I'm back. I just fell off the side of the earth for a minute. Oh man. Flat Earth confirmed? Flat Earth theory confirmed? Affirmative. Okay. We got first-hand confirmation, folks. If the earth is flat, why does it have hills? True. It was a Turkish proverb, by the way. From what I understand. All right, folks. We got a few articles. We got a few articles to go through, so let's do it. Proud Boys trusted lieutenant sentenced after cooperating with feds in the January 6th case. The former high-ranking official for the Proud Boys who cooperated with federal authorities in the seditious conspiracy case against other members of the far-right domestic terrorist group was sentenced to 40 months in prison today, for his role in the January 6th insurrection. Clown, who the government described as a trusted lieutenant on the former Proud Boy chairman, who the government described as a trusted lieutenant on the former Proud Boys chairman, Enrique Tarry's leadership team, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding as well as to assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers, including throwing two water bottles at police while they were under assault by the mob. Authorities also said he handled a stolen police shield on the grounds on January 6th. Clown, who's no longer affiliated with the Proud Boys, has been held in federal prison since his arrest, so the sentence is nearly the equivalent of time served. Several paragraphs describing Clown's cooperation with the government were redacted from public filings in the case. Functionally, you're going to leave pretty soon, said Judge Timothy Kelly, praising him for how he conducted himself since the arrest, but noting the seriousness of the underlying crime. Prosecutor said in a sentencing memo that Donahue was aware at least 2 days before the Capitol attack that the Proud Boys were discussing a possibility of the storming of the Capitol. Donahue believed that storming the Capitol would achieve the group's goal of stopping the government from carrying out the transfer of presidential power. Tarry was sentenced in September to 22 years of federal prison, the longest sentence given to any January 6th defendant. This dude got 22 years because of this guy cooperating. Enrique Tarrio, it was going away for 22 years. In 22 years, I will be more than 50 years old. A lot more than 50 years old. Just as a just for perspective. Do the crime, do the time, I guess. At least prison has a proven history of reforming white nationalists. It's actually a fun time. He will likely make lots of friends, sadly. Probably. His co-defendants, including these clowns, were sentenced. This clown was sentenced to 17 years, while this other clown was sentenced to 15 years, and the other one for 18 years. I mean, like, Jesus. 15 years from now, I would be close to 50. I would be close to 50. More or less. You are now already old to Gen Z. Oh, come on. I can't be that old. Gen Z is just one generation behind. Stop with your future math. I'm not ready to be 50. Well, to be fair, I was just kind of making it I was thinking about it in my head, like, that's a very long time. That's 22 years. We still got a ways to go, okay? Are millennials technically Gen Y? I don't know. Enough time for almost everything you've experienced so far in your life to be done and over again. That's also true. That's a scary thought. Whew. Dude's lawyers wrote that their client joined the Proud Boys in 2018 after watching a documentary on YouTube and seeing a video of Antifa smashing a Berkeley, United States Marine Corps window in 2017. This clown eventually serves as a president for the local chapter. Yeah, so basically, all in all, the point being is that this dude got sentenced to 40 months, which is, what, a couple of years? 4 years? About 3 and something. And by cooperating, he was extremely helpful in getting Enrique Tarrio 22 years for assisting in this case. Almost 4. Yep. Federal judge orders documents naming Jeffrey Epstein's associates to be unsealed. Oh man, 2024 is going to be quite the year, folks. Let me tell you. Folks. So many people are saying, to Gen Z, you could be a teacher, you're an adult, adulting and stuff, get used to it. I still feel like 18 inside until I was 35. Oh man, that means be there soon-ish, kind of. Man. A federal judge in New York has ordered a vast unsealing of court documents in earlier 2024 that will make public the names of scores of Jeffrey Epstein's associates. The documents are part of the settled civil lawsuit against alleging Epstein's one-time paramour, Ghislaine Maxwell, facilitated the sexual abuse of Virginia Giuffre. Terms of the 2017 settlement were not disclosed. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence after she was convicted of sex trafficking and procuring girls for Epstein, who died by suicide in a 2019 Manhattan jail while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. Who do you somebody said who do I think is going to be on that list? I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea. I felt like 35 since I was 8. I've got a feeling that there's a lot of powerful names that don't want to be known. Who knows? Anyone who did not successfully fight to keep their name out of the civil case could see their name become public, including Epstein's victims, co-conspirators, and innocent associates. Okay. Judge Loretta Prescott set the release for January 1st, giving anyone who objects to their documents becoming public time to object. A ruling, though, said that since some of the individuals have given media interviews, their names should not stay private. The documents may not make clear why a certain individual became associated with Giuffre's suit, but more than 150 people are expected to be identified in hundreds of files that may expose more about Epstein's sex trafficking of women and girls in New York, Mexico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and elsewhere. Some of the names may simply have been included in depositions, emails, or legal documents. Yeah, this dude was disgusting. This dude was disgusting. Some of the people have already been publicly associated with Epstein. For instance, Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz is publicly named in the judge's order. Certain minor victims will be redacted. Minor victims, names will be redacted. Maxwell, a longtime associate of Epstein, was convicted in 2021 of conspiring with Epstein to recruit, groom, and abuse minors. In February, she asked the court to overturn a conviction and 20-year prison sentence. Prosecutors subsequently urged a federal appeals court in June to uphold that conviction. From 94 to 04, Maxwell and Epstein worked together to identify girls, groom them, and entice them to travel and transport them to Epstein's properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and elsewhere. Like, yeah, you want to talk about, like, actual real groomers? Yeah, this is it. The girls, some of whom were young as 14, were then sexually abused and often under the guise of massages. Yeah, okay. Giuffre alleged in her suit against Maxwell that Maxwell recruited her at the age of 16 to sexual servitude. At this point, like, do we have to say allegedly? Because, like, she's convicted. She was convicted. She also accused Maxwell and Epstein of directing her between 2000 and 2002 to have sex with a number of prominent associates, most famously Britain's Prince Andrew. The lawsuit was settled in 2017, just before the trial to begin. Prince Andrew had repeatedly denied the allegations and attacked Giuffre's credibility and motives. He agreed to settle a sexual assault lawsuit from Giuffre for an undisclosed sum. Yeah, okay, dude. Prince Andrew has never intended to malign Ms. Giuffre's character, and he accepts that she has suffered both as an established victim of abuse and as a result of unfair public attacks, according to the letter filed from Giuffre's lawyer. It is known that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked countless of young girls over many years. Prince Andrew regrets his association with Epstein and commends the bravery of Ms. Giuffre and other survivors in standing up for themselves and others. Yeah, whatever, dude. Gross. Did you hear about the Colorado ballot? Yes! Chat brought it up to me. Chat brought it up to me. USA. Well, we'll see what the Supreme Court has to say. But yes, it is a good ruling. And if the Supreme and if it stands, it means that it may be the case that Trump finds himself off the ballot in several in other states, and hopefully, it goes from there. So this one will be quick. Gotta be quick. Rudy Giuliani is being sued again because he keeps defaming these people, these poll workers. He keeps doing it, and now he's gonna be sued again. They already won $150 million. And this dude just keeps going. Yeah, good for them, 100%. And they should do it again, and again if he keeps it up. And if he keeps it up, a female interviewer called Rudy Judy. That's funny. Ted Goodman, an advisor to Giuliani on Monday, declined to comment on any potential upcoming legal matters. Man, this dude just can't help himself, right? I don't want hats, dude. Moss and Freeman Zoller added that even since the verdict, Giuliani has indicated that he would not stop repeating the false claims about them. So sue him again. Sue him again. At the end of the first day of the defamation charges trial against him last week, Giuliani told TV cameras outside court that everything I said about them is true and that he had proof that the media should stay tuned, which of course never happened, and it won't because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Remember Borat with Rudy? Yeah. Defendant Giuliani continues to spread the very same lies for which he has already been held liable, the new lawsuit says. Defendant Giuliani's statements, coupled with his refusal to agree to refrain from continuing to make such statements, make clear that he intends to persist in his campaign of targeted defamation and harassment, and it must stop. Yeah, I mean, good for them. Yeah, good on them. And hopefully these women win more hundreds of millions of dollars from him. $700 a month, no question asked. Improve the lives of homeless people. Wow! No way! If 100 homeless people are given $750 per month a year, no questions asked, what would they spend it on? Y'all want to take a guess? That question was at the core of a controlled study conducted by San Francisco-based nonprofit, the USC Suzanne Dwork Peck School of Social Work. The results are so promising that the researchers decided to publish the results after only 6 months. The answer: food 36%, housing 19%, transportation, clothing, healthcare, leaving only 13.6% uncategorized. So another way of putting it is that about 73% was used on, necessities. Yeah, we know. We've done this. We've done this several times in different countries too. We've seen this result be quite successful in other countries too, and other pilot programs. They buy food and other necessities. Wow! This has been studied a bunch of times with the same results every time, yet they won't make it permanent policy. Yeah, that would be way too convenient. That would make way too much sense. Those who got stipends were less likely to be unsheltered after 6 months and able to meet more of their basic needs than a control group that got no money, and half as likely as the control group to have an episode of being unsheltered. So these are policy decisions that we could be taking, but we're refusing. We know what the ramifications are. And the fact of the matter is that, another way of putting it is this level of homelessness is a policy choice. I felt there was enough interest and the initial findings were compelling enough that it was important to get those results out, said Benjamin Henwood, director of the Center for Homelessness, Housing, and Health Equity Research at the Dwork Peck School, who led the study. It may not be earth-shattering that providing money is going to help meet basic needs. Yeah, no, duh. In a system that revolves around money, who would have thought that providing people money was going to help relieve some of those issues? About 2% of the total went to alcohol, cigarettes, and drug expenses, the largest portion which was cigarettes. 2%. That's wild. The participants submit monthly reports on their spending and are surveyed in more detail quarterly. A follow-up report will be published after the participants have received the funds for a full year, but Hammond said the main findings were robust enough that they were unlikely to change. That study arose from Miracle Messages, a San Francisco-based nonprofit that sends volunteers to the streets and shelters to befriend homeless people and try to make connections with the loved ones who had lost contact with them. Next founder and chief executive Kevin Adler started Miracle Friends, matching homeless people to volunteer phone buddies for weekly calls. That evolved into Miracle Money when volunteers began asking Adler whether it was okay to give their buddies a few dollars. You asked me to be a friend to this person, but they don't know what they're going to eat tonight. Adler would say they tell him. Adler didn't think the volunteers should hand out their own money, but the idea of cash support appealed to him. After a pilot showed promise, Adler got a grant to expand to LA. He hired 2 recruiters to canvass homeless shelters. They enlisted more than 200 clients who met the criteria, being at least 18 years old and homeless, and expressed interest in having a phone buddy. Rather than just give money away, Adler hoped to document its effect. He teamed up with Henwood, who divides the control study. The participants were divided into randomly 2 groups. One group of 103 received stipends. The other were told that they were on a waiting list. After 6 months, only 12% of those who received funds reported being unsheltered at any time prior during the month, a dramatic decrease from 30% at the outset. Those on the waiting list also reported fewer unsheltered episodes, but by a much smaller margin, from 28 to 23%. The cash recipients also said they were better able to meet their basic needs on a scale of 1 completely to 5 not at all. They dropped from about 3.75 on average to just over 3.25. The control group did not budge from that 3.75. That's $15 for a couple packs of cigarettes for a month. Yeah, which, like, come on, bro. How much? Like, that's no different than, like, what a average person would spend, I imagine. It's nothing, correct. Among those receiving the funds, some found permanent housing, even though the money fell far beyond below average rents in the area. Maybe because just because they're unhoused does not mean that they don't have a job. It seems like it's opening up possibilities in different ways. They might have a friend or relative that may not be willing to support them completely, but if they have something to contribute, that opens up a room. Oh, yeah, that too. In other cases, the money created opportunities even for people who remained unsheltered. I spent a lot of money on food on the go, said one participant who told researchers. Simple, cheap things like beans and cheese burritos. I eat on the run while I bike and work for DoorDash. I also brought... Yeah, what? This dude is like literally working. I also bought a membership to REI so I could get my bike fixed for free, which is the way he makes his money. It's not a single path forward. It's a lot of resourcefulness and creativity. Or, yeah, I mean, come on. This is not surprising at all. $750 would go very far in my budget. Same. Same. Even like half that would go very far in terms of like adding on to the job that I have. So I can only imagine like 750 is a huge difference. Is a monumental difference for people. And the fact that like the fact that this isn't being implemented. Now, granted, is it like a silver bullet for things? No, like capitalism is gonna capitalism, but in given the context that we are in right now, it would certainly help a lot of people, and it would be something that we can theoretically do right now if we so chose to. It is a policy decision. Trump called for mass deportation of school children who don't speak English. Again, this was all about just the xenophobia. Trump revealed a plan for mass deportation during a podcast interview with Eric Bolling, claiming that school children who are learning English are overwhelming schools. Ah, yes. It's the brown children who are, poisoning the blood of the country, They need to be removed. We're going to have a mass deportation before justifying his plans. When Bowling asked Trump to elaborate on mass deportation plan, Trump cited migrants in hospitals and schools. What movie are we living out? I don't know. Quote, we don't have rooms in our hospitals and our schools. They're going to classes. They don't speak English. Nobody knows what to do. They have languages that nobody even knows. You know, like Spanish. Nobody knows that language. You have a lot of languages in this world. They have languages. Well, we don't have any people that understand or know any of these languages. You know, like Spanish. They can't teach them. They're all over the place. Yeah, it's a known fact that our public education doesn't have Spanish classes or English classes. Schools are overwhelmed because they're underfunded and understaffed. Yes. We have classrooms in schools which are loaded with people that don't even speak a word of English, and the schools are there and they have no idea what to do about it. It's a very sick situation. You know what's really messed up? My original language is not English. My original language, my primary or my first language is Spanish. However, I was born here, so I am an American citizen. So by the way he's describing this, if we rewound, the clock quite a while back, and he would be talking about me. He would be talking about me. Deport me to where? I literally was born here. I was literally born here. So deport me to where? Merde. Niet. Nein. How dare you? How dare me not know English coming out of the womb. Deport you to California, a place I've never been to. So as the Simon Locker is pointing out, schools, many of which have been historically underfunded, may need more resources to address the need of migrant students, but virtually all have plans to address the needs of English language learners due to a federal law. Yeah, this is pretty disturbing stuff. Because I believe he would be inclined to try. I don't know how far he would get in this plan, but I would wager that should there be a scenario where this dude gets into power, I think he would try. I think he would figure out avenues to attempt to make this happen. And it's very scary. It's very scary. And dude's Hitler particles are like off the charts. I like California, it's just too expensive. Yeah, it's too expensive because communism, right? The irony, right? These right-wing clowns decry that the problems facing, the problems that are facing like these mega cities and whatnot, they decry as being part of communism or some kind of like left-wing ideology, when in reality it's very hyper-capitalist. All right, folks, we did it. We got through I think we got through all the headlines without a hitch. Look at that. Folks, I do have to get going. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all the biddies. Whistle, Alio, Heat, thank you for all the biddies. That really does help the channel out. Thank you for the follows, subscriptions, and all that. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you want to support the channel, don't forget, gotta jump, gotta be quick. If you guys want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the follow button if you haven't done so. Join us on the YouTubes, like the stream, do all that awesome stuff. Spread the word. We'll be here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. This Thursday, there might not be a stream. I'm pretty sure there won't be. I'll know by tomorrow. Join the Discord to keep up and get any updates. And join the Discord for the monthly end-of-month movie night. End-of-month movie night, The Nightmare Before Christmas, December 30th. Same time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I forgot to make that in the announcement, but I'll edit that announcement. Yes, if you want some cool merch, some cool stuff, some cool things that you can wear and use, click on that. Click on the merch link or just go to the website. I'll be at the movie night after all. Hey, you made it. Oh crap, I just clicked on the advertising button. All right, well, my bad. Anyways, click on adifficulttruth.com. You click on the shop, and bada beam, bada boom, you have a selection of what you can obtain if you want some cool ADT merch. I myself have a few of these things. I have a few stickers lying around. In fact, there's one already on my microphone. That's one of the ADT stickers on the microphone. I believe that's this guy over here. I also have one of the t-shirts, which I occasionally wear. I do have a beanie, a bucket hat, a packable jacket. I have this t-shirt too. And I have this hoodie. And I actually am using this large mouse pad. I have almost all of this except the extra t-shirt, the tank top, and that's about it. I actually have most of the stuff. Oh, this zip-up hoodie. That's what I need to get next. Anyways, and also if you are a subscriber, you do get a discount if you connect like your, I guess, Twitch account when you try to buy something. If you're already like on Twitch or have the Twitch account, you can connect it and get a discount for just being a sub. I don't know how much the discount is, but I know that you do. I have the tea and the tank. I recommend them. I should get a tank top. Not that I use tank tops a lot, but anyways, I appreciate all the support. Again, you guys are what makes everything go. Thank you guys. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser, for keeping the chat chill. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much. See ya. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Let me do that again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For real this time. See ya.